Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. I am Mayank Bhalerao and I'll be the host of today's session. I am pursuing my PhD with Professors Janet Allen and Farooq Mistry at the System Visualization Laboratory at OU, and I'm very happy to be the host today. I welcome you all from the behalf of graduate student community to the Fall 2025 seminar series. Today we have with us a very exceptional personality, Dr. Naveen Kumar. But before telling about him, I'll tell you a bit about GSC and what activities we do. The GSC leadership team for academic year 2025 and 2026 is here. We have Rodney and Samuel as our co-chairs. Swapnil and Avinash handle the publicity, so all the emails you get from GSC are from Swapnil and Avinash. Siavash is the treasurer, and we have a very good supporting team, including Zareen, Louis, Roshan, Rachel, Nurayan, Anshu, Mohammed, Sadikur, Suramya, and Viva. And with that, you all must know we have a fantastic faculty mentor with us, Professor Farooq Mistry. Uh, the GSC has regular meetings every week. We meet at Thursdays, on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. And the meetings are held on Zoom, and sometimes they are hybrid as well. If you have any questions regarding the meeting or joining GSC, feel free to contact Samuel and Rodney. This time on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. is set as per the schedule of attending students. So if in case you want to join GSC and you cannot make at this time, feel free to connect with us, especially Rodney and Samuel, and we will be really happy to accommodate this change in schedule and work as per your schedule. Uh, to become a GCOE GSC member on Engage, which I really request you all to do, please scan on this or go through this link. This helps us to share all the updated information with you about our events, seminars, and all the stuff. And I'll be waiting on this for a few seconds to give you some time to scan and be a member of GSC at GCOE. And that now I hope you all have done that. Congratulations, you are a member of graduate student community at Galley College of Engineering. We also have a very good LinkedIn page where we post all the updates, all the upcoming seminars, events. So please feel free to go and follow the page so that we'll be again happy to share all the recent updates with you. We also have a good Facebook and Instagram page. Again, we'll be really happy to engage you with all the recent upcoming sessions and the events through these social media pages. In case if you miss any of the session, we upload all the sessions on YouTube, and we will be really happy if you could go ahead and subscribe so you can watch all those videos anytime. We have a lovely room and space for all the GSC members, which is Dave and Susan Bird team room. This is available for all the GSC members. We have some good amenities like couches, whiteboard, coffee pot, microwave. If you need access to this room, please contact Rodney and Samuel, and they'll be giving you the access. Very important. I really request all of you to fill the Google form that will be shared in the messages. This helps us to keep track of the attendees and also keep you informed about the events and additionally get some good funding from the university for all the events. So I really request you all to fill the Google form and the link you will be receiving it in the chat in the next few minutes. We are tackling a very interesting session and theme this semester, which is exploring research frontiers with generative AI, where we are majorly focusing on the issues, methods, and applications. So generative AI is reshaping industry, research, society, everything as we know. But how do we use it responsibly? And this is something that we want to tackle through the GSC seminar series in fall 2025. We have the GSC folks have put a lot of efforts in bringing together the leading voices from academia and industry. And we seek to to feature speakers who can address one or more of the following themes, especially how people can work with generative AI to create intellectual, economic, and social value and connect these domains together. people who can speak about research issues, methods, and applications that arise when people collaborate across research, industry, and community, and ways for people to design generative AI initiatives that link academic inquiry, economic innovation, and social benefit in ethical and equitable ways. So if you know anybody or if you are someone who is engaged in all these sort of things, we would love to hear from you. Just email it to either Farokh, Rodney, or anybody from the GSC leadership team, and we'll be really happy to get you in the seminar series. The forthcoming webinars are on September the 24th. We will be having Xiao Dong Shen from the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Science from the University of Oklahoma. And he is going to talk on building high resolution storms with generative AI. On October 2, 2025, we are having Kayan Mistry, who is the co-founder and chief operational officer of PropX, which is an enterprise in Dubai, and he has graduated from the Ohio State University. He is going to talk about his company and especially focusing on generative AI from data to decisions. And on October 8th, we are going to have Vishal Singh, who is from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And he's going to talk about are Gen AI and LLMs reshaping human-computer path. So we have these interesting talks lined up, and I know that you all are waiting for today's talk. So here is today's talk. I am very delighted to introduce Dr. Naveen Kumar, who is going to talk about agentic AI, opportunity and challenges in information management. He is an associate professor of management information systems at the University of Oklahoma's Price College of Business. Dr. Kumar is a dynamic and seasoned AI leader, keynote speaker, author, research, you name it, and he is the one who is working in this field of AI. His unique blend of professional and academic experience lets him bridge theory and practice in ways that resonate with both scholars and practitioners. His recent work has been on generative AI, quantum AI, large language models, and prompt engineering techniques to tackle complex business problems. He has written and spoken very extensively about how AI biases shapes outcomes from hiring to healthcare, various domains, where he offers practical approaches to auditing, transparency, and responsible governance. Looking ahead, he is also leading the charge of data analytics, where his focus is to prepare leaders to source and analyze data to drive better decisions across their organizations. Beyond his research contributions, he is a very dedicated educator and mentor developing the next generation of leaders in data driven decision making. His scholarly and applied work continues to show his business can responsibly and effectively adopt emerging technologies. Before being a professor at the University of Oklahoma, he has a good experience of 10 years in Intel, where he worked on semiconductors and data analysis and all these kinds of emerging technologies. And we are very happy to have Dr. Naveen Kumar today with us. With that, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Naveen Kumar. And with that, I hand over the platform to you. And once again, I warmly welcome you from GSC, and we are very excited to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayank. So if you allow me to share my screen, then I'll go ahead and start the presentation.
Yes, I think you should be able to share.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, just a second. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining this session. And thank you, Mayank, for the kind introduction. My name is Naveen Kumar, and today I'm going to talk about agentic AI opportunities and challenges. So as Mayank briefly alluded, so my background, I'm engineer by training, and then I worked in industry for 10 years, and then now I'm part of Price College of Business. So my research and academic work is at the fringes of pure academic research, as well as bit more on the industry side. So I tend to pick problems from real world and try to solve them so that it could make an impact in industry in real world, as well as from pure research perspective in academia. Okay, so I've been working in the area of say artificial intelligence. Previously we used to call data science, or even before that predictive analytics. So it's been almost 20 years I've been working in this space. And here today I'm here to share some of my thoughts in agentic AI. And this work is in joint collaboration with Professor Hanzan at Georgia Tech University and Professor Annie Wang at the University of Washington. So but I just wanted to present big picture in this talk. I know we have some students here as an audience who are going to be in the job market soon. They're finishing their graduate studies, and some of those students might be interested in joining academia. And thank you also for my colleagues, faculty members, people from all over the world for joining. I hope you would be able to find something new in this presentation. And again, the goal is just to speak at a high level on agentic AI side, what is going on in industry and academia, where are some of these key challenges, and what could be some future research pathways that we could take from this conversation and pursue further. Okay, so as we know, agentic AI is making big news these days. So even if we take a look from industry perspective, so Microsoft, they announced 2025 to be a year of agentic AI. The CEO of Microsoft, he specifically mentioned, say, systems such as software as a service, they are going to be replaced with agentic AI systems. And companies like Google, they have more than 1,000 plus enterprise agentic AI based system deployment across many different areas. And then you know companies such as Salesforce, they are coming up with the systems in which more than 80% of users queries are resolved with agentic AI system. And this is just some like tip of the iceberg. So a lot of developments have been happening in this space. And I know I've been using the term agentic AI without defining it, but hopefully, with this introductory pitch, you may be able to relate how extensively in industry, how industry is leading the charge and doing not lot of, like not only just application developments or releasing different products, but they are investing a lot of money in AI in general and agentic AI specifically, and so that they could basically release, or they could release these lot of products not only for industry and but for academia too. But just to define agentic AI so that we are on the same page, so here is how I would define. It's basically autonomous systems capable of planning, reasoning, and acting without without human oversight or with minimal oversight. Okay, so there are specifically some of the prominent features of agentic AI which we need to focus on, or which we should pay attention to, such as autonomous system. And you might be wondering, like what is so new about it. As we might have seen, AI has been here for many years, but in specifically in the past 3 years, lot of things have changed, especially with the release of ChatGPT. Okay, so after that, AI became buzzword or household word, in which even we call it analytics or AI democratization, in which almost everyone is aware at least at a user level what AI is, what AI could do. But as I mentioned, agentic AI has been picked up very recently. I just joined a conference AI4 in Vegas last month, and people from all over the world, 8,000 people from all over the world, from different academic fields, say naming from computer science or from applied sciences, healthcare to business school, many different spaces people join, and they, a lot of developments that has been happening across academia and industries were shared. So a lot of exciting things are going on in this space, and we have seen some early benefits from many different domains, such as customer service, finance, healthcare, supply chain, biomedical research. So even from the consumerization perspective or democratization perspective, now products like ChatGPT, they have released agentic system, or in their ChatGPT, which is most commonly used systems that has been released by OpenAI. So they have introduced agents-based system to general consumers. So now the autonomy or the power is in the hand of consumers, and from the companies or industry perspective also, early applications of agentic AI is showing a lot of promises, but at the same time, a lot of challenges that we need to be aware of, and that's what I'm going to also discuss as this talk progresses. As I mentioned, like agentic AI is kind of new buzzword these days, but a lot of developments have been happening in the past few years. But there is a key distinctions in agentic AI, which I'll talk briefly. But if we look at traditional AI systems that have been, there are many products have been developed, or many systems have been developed using traditional AI or even LLMs, for example, chatbots or scripted workflows. But how these systems are different, those systems tend to be a bit more reactive in nature, and they are very useful to some extent for repetitive tasks, but at the same time there are limitations too. So we have seen, say for example, in LLMs, advanced capabilities, for example, they are working very well these days for content generations, or if we want to summarize reports across multiple domains, or even uh, to come up with chatbots for customer support. They have been working very well, and they are, since they have been in practice for a while now, but they also offer some limitations that we need to be aware of. One very important thing is context. Sometime they tend to not take into consideration context very well, and they are also sometimes lagging in terms of adapting to fast changing environment, or dynamic environment for that sake. So that's where I think in the agentic AI, they tend to, as I mentioned in the definition, they are being used for planning, reasoning, and from orchestration perspective, they tend to work very well. The other limitations of these traditional AI system, or for that purpose LLM, is they tend to have short-term memories, and they are very sensitive to the way we interact with them or the way we design different prompts. And also we have seen some challenges in terms of integration with legacy systems, or such as databases, or with APIs across different products or tools in the ecosystem. So at a high level, LLMs are great. They have been, as I mentioned, they have been good in kind of summarizing information from different uh, places, but at the same time they are not autonomous. Okay, so they cannot adapt very well in a very dynamic environment. That is where agentic AI is playing an important role, or it has potential to make big impact. So now, with the help of agentic AI, there is a potential to move from content generation to proactive execution. So depending on the goal that we define, agentic AI tend to be, very has potential to be dynamic, or to be very adaptive. And there is a specific provision there are specific provisions in agentic AI to be integrated with tools such as databases or traditional ERP systems and so on and so forth. So it as you know it these systems can dynamically adapt based on the user's goals, and also they can take some executive decisions, or they can execute certain decisions based on the user requirement. Okay, but certainly there are fundamental challenges also in terms of in terms of agentic AI, which I'll be talking little bit later. But in terms of consumerization, that it has been picking up very fast. The primary reasons are because of democratization, or because of these there are companies that have been releasing no code or low code tools that are very easy for general consumers to use, or for small scale companies. They don't need any big investments. Okay, so for example, we have companies just like Google or Microsoft or OpenAI. They have released products by which even general consumers can make their own custom products using the foundational models that have been provided, or using the general infrastructure related to agentic AI that have been provided. And even common users with little bit knowledge of agentic AI systems, they can assemble different components together and come up with their own tools, or come up with their own systems. Like the conference that I mentioned few minutes ago, I was pretty amazed. There were about 200 or 300 vendors. They were there in the conference, showcasing different products, or very very interesting unique use cases they came up with using some of the tools that requires pretty much no coding or very little coding. But here the business use case become very important, that one has to keep in mind. So overall, the entry point is or there are like barriers to the entry points. Those are kind of not very big. So it has that's why it has huge potential to make an impact. But as I said, from the challenges perspective, there are issues that, as a researcher and as a practitioners, that we need to be aware of. One is organizational impact, with agentic AI, because sometimes we let these complex systems to make decisions on our behalf. So there are some fundamental challenges or issues regarding that. But if we look at the system, in agentic AI, if we implement agentic AI, or if we bring in agentic AI system in an enterprise setting, then lot of workflows, those are changed. And as I mentioned, sometime we let these agents to make decisions on behalf of the decision makers, which brings fundamental issues that we need to address. So as I mentioned, like there is a going to be shift, or we see shift in roles. Agents are typically replacing human intermediaries, but at the same time, they are also redefining responsibilities in this human agent ecosystem. The question becomes, should we let these agents make decisions on our behalf or on behalf of humans, or there has to be intermediaries, and how much power we need to let we need to give these automated or autonomous systems, and how much decision making or power we should keep in the hands of humans. So these are some of the fundamental challenges. We don't have answers right now, but these are some of the fundamental issues or challenges that we need to think of. Okay, so these lead to some of the questions. And I know we in the audience we have a lot of people from engineering background or from sciences background. So there are challenges in each space. So first is technical challenge. For example, which type of tasks are best suited to agentic automation, and how to do how to or how do task characteristics influence system design and performance? This is a fundamental question. This is very, I know this seems like very high level question, but very fundamental question. And at the same time, given there is a lot of buzz around agentic AI also, we just don't want to be just in the bandwagon where everyone is talking about agentic AI. But if we are say for example, if I put engineer's hat, then if I'm a decision maker, I just need to go back to basics. What are some of the fundamental systems or legacy systems that in an industry those are working fine? What are specific use cases that I cannot solve with the traditional legacy system or just traditional AI systems? Why do I need to bring in agentic AI? So there has to be proper thoughts that need to go in and in coming up with the good use cases with proper return on investment, that these are some of the use cases or specific scenarios where agentic AI has huge potential to make an impact. Then at an organizational level also, a lot of thoughts need to be given. So questions like how will agentic systems integrate with legacy infrastructures, and what challenges will arise in ensuring interoperability and continuity. Along with that, I was talking to chief analytics officers in one of the Fortune 500 companies last week, and I asked the question, what keeps you up during night? The response I got is, at an organizational level, not only technology, but people too. How the adoption is going to happen of agentic AI, you know, whether what are fundamental barriers to adoption. If people are not on board, no matter how cool or sophisticated the product is, that is not going to bring the results as we are expecting. So it is very important to have those discussions from the organization perspective in terms of challenges like just such as integrating with the legacy system or interoperability or continuity, but at the same time bringing people on board too, that this is not going to uh, replace their job, which I'll be discussing a little later, but I just wanted to bring in. But technology is here to help us. So at an organizational level, we need to pay attention to the upcoming challenges in this space. At the same time, on the governance side, the key question is how can organizations balance transparency, governance, human oversight when deploying autonomous agents in high-stake environment? Who will own responsibility if something doesn't go the way that we expect system to be? So those issues or challenges in governance space are also equally important. And unfortunately, right now there is no quick cookbook recipe. Those companies are determining, and also researchers are figuring out, and policymakers are also figuring out going forward how it may look like. Okay, from the applications perspective, there are many different applications of agentic AI. I just brought in very few, but I'm not going to spend time on this. Only one application that I will spend time, here I'm bringing knowledge management. We can just read the slides and see how agentic AI is going to play an important role or playing an important role. But here is the application that I may just spend another few seconds. Software development lifecycle. Given we software or in engineering, that software development is one of the areas that is also hugely impacted or may be impacted going forward. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion going around whether the software engineers, whether they will whether they will be relevant, or if we are graduating from the university or from the school, how easy is it to find job in industry in software development space, or how can we be relevant? Things are changing at a very rapid pace. The skill sets that companies or organizations might be looking 1 or 2 years ago, those skill sets may or may not be relevant, or we may need to think a little bit differently because things are changing at such a rapid pace. Even in the talk like this, we have to, or as a speaker, we need to be a little bit careful not to put too many tools in the slides, because by the time we make presentation, those tools may not exist anymore. So things are changing at such a rapid pace. Even the top researchers who have developed some applications, nice applications without naming, they are also saying, hey, slow down, things are going at such a fast pace, it is rapid, it is very difficult to catch up. So from the software development perspective, new development methodologies just like vibe coding is coming. And if we just look at some of the new jobs that are popping up, for example, software development and code cleaner. So those are the things that we need to pay attention to in terms of what is going to be relevant, how we can adapt to this uh, new development in a very adaptable way. So we need to pay attention. The reason I bring in, because here we have new models of human agent co-creation in collaborative pipelines. So we need to figure out ways in which we can leverage AI in software development. So as I mentioned, some of the methodologies that companies are embracing these days is vibe coding and so on and so forth. So there's a huge potential over there, just if we keep up with the technology. Okay, and then other area is service delivery and CRM. Again, I will let you read, these specific applications. The other one that I just mentioned, next one is a real-time summarization, where agentic AI system, for example, one agent could be assigned one specific task. For example, how to extract key data. Another agent in parallel can work in terms of abstracting key information and providing interesting insight. Third agent could align with some institution norms and stakeholder and align with the stakeholder expectation, so and so forth. Okay, so there is no shortage of applications, many different applications, but here in this talk, along with those, I just want to also focus on wanted to focus on some fundamental issues that we are seeing. For example, what are some of the key risks and challenges associated with agentic AI system. So at a very high level, I classified those key risks or challenges in three categories: technical, governance, as well as ethical risk, which I'll be talking about. And here, I think since we are from, in the audience, we have, participants from many different backgrounds. I'm hoping that you will find some of these issues you may see or resonating with you, so that you can at least look at some of these issues and see in whatever applications or domain that you're working on, how some of these risks or challenges are going to impact as from the work that you're doing. For example, in the technical risk, so hallucinations. Okay, so hallucination might not sound very new in agentic AI. So hallucination, there were a lot of scenarios in which researchers as well as practitioners or scholars, they observed hallucinations when LLMs came into mainstream after the release of ChatGPT 3.5. So the key question is, what is so unique now, in agentic AI? So hallucination or other issues become extremely important, because agentic AI, by definition, if we know that there are multiple agents who might be acting or working in a concurrent fashion, and even if we just one agent hallucinates, it may have huge impact on the entire system. So hallucination might be amplified in this complex system. So we need to make sure that the whatever applications we are working on, we need to pay attention to the issue of hallucination a bit more carefully. Then the other issue is misaligned autonomy. So in which business may have their, if we are developing agentic AI based system at an enterprise level, so each business unit or business as a whole, they may have their own rules or they may have their own safeguards. Okay, so agents as a whole, say some of the agents in the system, they may bypass some of those rules or safeguards, and when we implement or develop these systems for the entire enterprise, they may create huge issues. Okay, so given these are very complex systems, then that leads to another issues of adversarial manipulations, in which just one or from the uh, from the issues perspective, so adversaries, they just need to find one weak link in the system, and even one weak link, either through prompt injection or through corrupted inputs or through some inter-agent exploitation may bring huge challenge in the system. So we need to think carefully in terms of how to address or how to take care of any adversarial manipulations. And at the same time, as I mentioned, because these are complex systems, it is very challenging to address some of these issues. And but at the same time, we need to make sure that these systems have been tested very carefully, and there is no weak link in the system. Okay. Next issue that I'm going to bring is governance risks. Okay, so here, because these are very complex systems, agents may have access to some sensitive data, and the traditional governance uh, systems or rules that were being developed, they were not developed or built for autonomous learning systems. So that brings very interesting or unique challenges. How to take care of those issues or challenges? So in agentic AI system, the companies or the researchers, they have been exploring different ways of handling these issues, such as coming up with the layered permissions in which there are multiple levels of permissions to these different agents. And the other thing is embedded auditing, where auditing part is embedded in the system, compared to just auditing each part in silo. And then coming up with some real-time monitoring and compliance regulations or schemas by which these agentic AI systems, they have some oversights. Okay. At the same time, as I mentioned, there are some challenges on the accountability side. If something goes wrong in the system, then who is responsible when agents generate policy violating output? So we also need to think from that perspective. At the same time, these agents are being operated or might be operating across different geographical locations. So the rules are very different, or rules might be very different across these different geographical locations, governance rules. So how to adapt to each geographical location using or following the local rules of that geographical location is also something very challenging that we need to be aware of. Next is ethical issues. So ethical issues, as I mentioned, some of the issues that we are seeing in agentic AI, just those issues were also used to exist in the legacy system or in the previous generation of AI, specifically in LLMs. But now the challenge is that the systems are complex and those issues might be amplified in the agentic AI system. From the ethical risk perspective, bias and inequality is one of them. So agents may replicate or magnify discriminations or biases in the system. So for example, in hiring process, there in the agentic AI system, there are multiple agents representing different members of the hiring committee. And if there is an issue, bias issues, those bias might be implicit or explicit bias. So they may have huge implications in terms of hiring or in other domains such as lending or resource allocations. The other issue is opaque decisions, because these systems are very big, scalable, complex systems. So due to that reason, so sometimes there is not clear transparencies in the system, in the sense that no one knows how these complex systems work. So if a specific agent make any specific choice, it is very hard to decode. If something goes wrong, it is very hard to decode and figure out the issues. So auditing is very difficult in this complex system, and at the same time, having human trust on it become equally complex too, or equally, there is equally there is an issue over there too. And at the same time, as I said, there is a weak oversight because of scaling issues. So because these systems are very big or complex, it is harder to keep humans in the loop for any accountability perspective. And at the same time, there are issues in terms of fairness because these different agents are being used in different scenarios. So context is very important. So some of the same system, if we think of this big system, being implemented across different geographical boundaries, something that works in the United States from cultural perspective may not work in other countries and vice versa. So fairness becomes very very important that these agentic system has to take into consideration. Okay. So these were some of the key risks or issues I just wanted to bring in. But at the same time, there are also some strategic trade-off. Okay, if we want to focus on one specific aspect of technology, what are the side effects of it, of that part? How does that leveraging some key aspects in on the one part, how it is bringing an issue on the other part? So that's what I wanted to bring in this talk. So one of the issues is efficiency gains versus labor displacement. Okay, so agentic AI has already started to showing promises in terms of productivity gains. There are companies or enterprises that have been reporting gains in labor productivities up to 30% or even more, and at the same time there is a cost reduction too. That we see that companies are reporting overall there is a cost reduction. Okay, so that's a good news, but at the same time there is an issue with the with the with not only automation but with the autonomous system there is a risk of humans losing their jobs. Okay, so this prior research has also shown that automation, or in our context automation, leads to more job creation as well. But that is not just that doesn't happen on a short term basis. In a long term, yes, we see maybe new jobs will be created, and the issue of labor displacement in the long term would be taken care of. But in the short term there is going to be uneven transition. So there are going to be short-term socio-economic disparities that we need to be aware of. So overall, there, that leads or that brings tension in the system, that as a policymaker or as a researcher or as a student graduating, at least we need to be aware that what issues these agentic AI systems or AI in general it is bringing from the organization perspective. That is whether to maximize efficiency by using agentic AI or other aspects of AI, versus to take care of or to address the broader need to preserve employment and workforce stability in the short term. So these are some of the fundamental issues that we need to be take into consideration. There is no easy answer to it, but we need to keep that into account. Okay. Next one is automation versus explainability. Okay, so as I said, agentic AI not only brings automation but bringing autonomous or bringing autonomy also. So at the same time, there are issues in terms of explainability because these systems are very complex, very big. So there is a little visibility into how decisions are made. So for example, if I'm relying on some of these systems and these systems are making decisions on my behalf, so if I don't know how these systems work, if there is a complete black box, I'll be very reluctant to use these systems. Okay, the reason is because some of these in these complex systems, they have their reasoning process often hidden, so leaving users unsure why a specific outcome was chosen. Say so that is fundamental issues that we need to be aware of. And then the other one is because of complexity, it is very hard to audit or to trace back. If something goes wrong, then it is very difficult to do debugging and figure out what the issues was. So as I said, because these systems are touching different parts of the ecosystem, so and they might be optimizing one specific aspect of the system in a very narrow way, but at the same time, depending on what organizational priorities might be, so based on that, we may so these systems may miss big picture goal. So that is another aspect from automation. Automation also comes with a cost, that that explainability, how the system is doing from explainability perspective. What's going on, is it this system is being treated as a complete black box, versus we are able to figure out what's going on in the system. So some sort of transparency is also equally important to consider. Then the another part is access versus inequality. So you know because of democratization these days, we can see that a lot of no code or low code tools are available. So the barrier to entry or bar to entry is very low. Even as I said, I'm seeing a lot of different products, and the development team may not have very advanced technical skills, but given these tools are being given or are in the hands of consumers, and it's very easy to create some of the complex agentic AI based systems for small firms as well as for community in general. But also at the same time, uh, that also brings some inequality or risk. These tools, as I said, are being common user can use. But if we step back and see what are the different companies who are still having power to develop these applications from at a fundamental level, or from the foundational model perspective, there are only key players that are governing these developments, or that are governing these changes. So the control is being concentrated in big high tech firms, and basically consumers may be locked in, that enforces dependencies on a key handful players. So there is an unequal value capture across ecosystem, so we need to be aware of that too. Okay. Next one, which is very important, scalability versus systematic fragility. We have seen in the past, these, because there are billions of users or millions or billions of users that might be using the product, agentic AI based system. Okay, so not only billions of users, those users might be across different geographies or different silos, or those systems might be dealing with the different types of data. Okay, so it is very hard to monitor these systems. Errors, as I emphasized earlier, errors in one system may bring issues across the entire system. And there is lack of transparencies in those systems because of their complexities, or that could be based on their complex rules that are being embedded in the system, or there could be issues related to data leakage or memory leakage or unauthorized access or tools misused, the integration of different tools with these agentic AI systems, so those tools could be misused too. So some of the challenges that research as a researchers or as a practitioners, that we need to be aware of, how we can maintain these systems or tools from the long term perspective, and how we can bring people, how we can have leaders or people buy in to those systems, so that so leaders or or consumers in general can trust these systems. So that is another challenge that we need to take into considerations in this space. Then the next one is continuous automation versus contextual sensitivity. So, these systems are being designed to run 24/7, and users in general, they tend to be very happy with the fact that, so for example, chatbot, agentic AI based chatbots, and users in general, they tend to be very happy that enterprises, they have chatbots, that if users have any questions, they can get answers for those questions using those agentic AI based chatbots. But at the same time, say think about these systems, say, being deployed in healthcare setting, and if some specific set of patients, if they have questions in the middle of the night, but they may be able to get answers of these questions, but these agents may lack empathy. Okay, they may not, users may not be able to relate the response that, although factually correct, but they may not be able to relate or connect very well with these agentic AI systems. So that is also bringing huge challenge, how to make or how to make these systems smart enough so they can express emotions as well while dealing with the consumers, and also at the same time bring some cultural sensitivity when when dealing with the human facing applications or domains. So these are some of the issues that as a researchers we need to address, like how to take care of unexpected behaviors that are not aligned with the norms of different geographical locations or different institutional values. Okay, so just to conclude, so as I said, there is a shift in paradigm these days because of the recent development in agentic AI or AI space. So complete shift in the in paradigm. So as a researchers or practitioners, so we need to be thinking slightly differently. So from these systems are from earlier system uh, used to operate in a bit more reactive environment, but agentic AI, they are more being used for autonomous orchestrations or coordinations in which reasoning, planning, or acting, those are very important aspects of it. So what kind of oversights that we need to we need to put in place? Can we let these systems to run with minimal oversights? What kind of implications that it's going to bring? It may take another few years where we'll have a bit more confidence in these systems, and where there are going to be more regulations or governance in place. So at this point, there is a huge opportunities for scholars and practitioners to investigate governance, socio-technical issues or trade-offs, and at the same time institutional impact, not only just technical performance. Along with that, it brings in a lot of other aspects that we need to take care, we need to handle. And going forward, I would suggest like there got to be, we are going to see a lot of guiding responsible or sustainable integration of agentic AI through a lot of empirical research and a lot of new adaptive methodologies or interdisciplinary collaborations to make these systems more responsible, not only for technical audience but for community or for societal good in general. Okay. So that's what I just wanted to bring in to share perspective. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naveen Kumar. It was an absolutely amazing talk. What I really loved about this is you just didn't share with us the information, but it was wisdom that you shared with us. Because it's easy for us to go through the papers and read the algorithms, but it's kind of very difficult to know the open research questions, the challenges, with the perspective from both industrial person or an academician. So thanks a lot for the talk. It was really nice. I would love to have questions from the audience. We already have one question in the chat. Uh, would you like to ask it, or do you want us to take it, Bushi? I can take that for you. So the question is, given that the system is complex, that is with black box, it means it's not explainable. So how can it be sustainable? That's the question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So there are a lot of things happening in this space too. A lot of companies are developing different types of framework, and I can share some of those framework offline, in which you know based on the based on the technology, based on the algorithms, or based on the specific rules, they are able to, coming up, they are developing metrics uh, by which they can evaluate some of these systems. Again, they may not be able to kind of completely decode, but given the systems that are being in the process of in the development stage, so there are some specific frameworks that are out there as part of open source that one could use, and those systems to some extent can come up with some, or can produce some metrics or some indicators by which explainability score, they can provide some explainability score, and through which we can get some insights in terms of, based on the input and output, how the system might be behaving in a certain way. But yes, a lot more work needs to be done in terms of explainability, in terms, a lot of open source development is taking place by which we could see what is happening in those systems. So that is always a challenge. That's not an easy problem, or there is no easy answer to it, but that's what's going on right now.
Thank you. Uh, any questions from the audience? Questions, suggestions?
I have a question.
Sure, thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Okay, so you mentioned with the risk of opaque decisions, being able to see why an agent made a decision. So for humans, if a human is being watched, or if they know that there's special attention being paid to their output, then they actually perform better. And I'm wondering if you have found that an agentic AI works differently if the prompt indicates that the output will be judged for accuracy or quality.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. That means if humans are being watched, they perform differently, certainly. And uh, there are two aspects to it. I think one aspect is if the tasks that are being assigned to humans versus agentic AI system is so complex. Let me give you one example. For, like in investment banking, when investors have to make decisions in terms of where to invest money, and there's a lot of movement in the stock market. A lot of reports have to be generated right away from different sources. Say what's the consumer sentiment, what's being talked in social media, what investor report says, what other news media is talking about. So this, where as a human, it may take us hours to collect that information. Where a system just like agentic AI grok system, one could these tasks could be done in such a rapid manner. Okay, so in that space, I think agentic AI has a clear win, but at the same time, it can synthesize information from so many different places in just 5 minutes. We just need to issue queries, complex queries, and let different agents task the system. So in those, in this uh, in these situations, certainly agentic AI has edge and provide information to the humans, and humans can take it from there. Okay, so from the complex queries, or from the from that perspective. But at the same time, in software development, there are places in which human tend to do better. The system may give us more issues. It may take us more time to resolve those issues, versus if the task is not so complex, then human can handle those tasks very well. So it's a kind of trade-off depending on the scenarios we are dealing with, in which some cases humans can go back and validate what this agentic AI systems is giving. In some other cases, humans may human in silos may tend to do better. Does that answer your question?
Well, that answers another question that I didn't ask about, tasks and industries that agentic AI may perform better or not. Let me tell you about what happened. One time I was using the generative AI to create something, and I said, I gave it a prompt, do this. Well, it didn't come out with what I wanted. And so I tried again and I said, note to, this AI, you're wrong about this. And this is actually, what's true about this. And the response that I got was not only um, factual, the next one, the subsequent response, but it was like over the top and, with extra information and substantiation and it was a little creepy to be honest with you, but like the AI was offended that I had corrected it. But I'm wondering if framing a prompt to AI, because AI, like you said, is changing, by the time you make your slides, AI capabilities are different. Are you seeing or have you seen any research about prompting AI in a motivational manner, like, hey, somebody's watching you? Does that change output?
Yeah, let me try to address this question. I think, as you said, prompting in a certain way certainly, helps. But at the same time, there has been research that has been conducted. If we just, issue simple prompts by its very own nature, agentic AI or AI systems tend to appease consumer. Okay, so that is the way that these systems are being developed. Doesn't mean that in that process the answer is correct or output is correct or not. Okay, so they try to, based on the prompts, their by its very nature, they tend to respond in a certain way that the user, to appease the user. Okay, so from that perspective, it is very important just to be aware of what the output is being given, whether it is factually correct or not. So keeping human in the loop, specifically in agentic AI systems, become very important. Otherwise, if we just let the system be autonomous, the very nature of it, that these systems tend to appease the consumers, that behavior may tend to amplify in the complex systems. In state LLMs, we are just dealing with maybe one agent, single agent that we are dealing with. But in a complex system, the issue of appeasing consumers may become even more complex. How to handle those specific situations? Unfortunately, right now there is no quick recipe, but certainly as these systems evolve, more guardrails will be in place. And I could quote many different scenarios also where people have observed issues in LLMs where the answers that they got has are not close to reality, but those have been answered in a very affirmative way. At the same time, the other aspect, as I mentioned, consumer appeasement, that or to appease consumer, I think that behavior tend to create issues too.
That's a good
Thank you.
use. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. It was insightful. I think Karishma has a question. Thank you, Karishma. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I learned so much today, but here is a question that builds on the previous questions, Professor Kumar. Any system, particularly a management system, has a goal in mind to improve people's lives and deliver something that will be of benefit to society. Interim measures are to make money. So how does one increase agentive AI's own ability to set goals for itself that, quote unquote, please an agentive model? so that lessons learned become something the agentive model seeks to do in the interest of sustainability of two types. One, it is documenting its errors and its improvements. It is documenting how it is serving purpose, not pleasing customer, but the way it is programmed initially is to serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, so that its processes are taking place, so that it's intrinsically, financially, and environmentally cost effective. And cost into the environment, cost for the economic cost.
Yep. I think that's a great question. These are very important aspects. In a perfect world, these are very important aspects to take into consideration, from the sustainability perspective in terms of how to benefit society, and not only that, but in terms of how to make an impact from business perspective. These are important considerations. These are the from the research perspective, we if we go to any academic conferences or even for practitioner conferences, these are the important aspects that are being discussed. But I think this is a kind of part of evolution process. We are at a stage in which we might not be able to achieve all these goals in a holistic way, but at this point, what I see from the development perspective, at least there we are at a stage in which from business uh, business aspect perspective, that companies have been able to figure out the business aspect in terms of what ROI they are getting if they are rolling out these solutions. But if we take a look at the approach or holistic approach that you mentioned, business benefit or ROI is just one aspect of it. But from the societal, what impact it is making on society, sustainability, I think that's a kind of, if we look from supply chain loop perspective, how we can close the loop in terms of sustainability effort or in terms of impact on the environment. That part we are not there yet, but I'm very optimistic that in the coming years to come, there would be more governance rule, there would be more considerations into from the sustainability perspective. There will be there will be more efforts on the environmental side of it. But one thing I just wanted to mention from the societal perspective, because that part I have heard in so many different conferences from the societal impact perspective, how generative AI or AI in system is going to make an impact in K to 12 education. Because there are that's a fundamental shift, how we are going to help our the kids that who are in school from adopting AI based solutions. What are different pros and cons? Under what scenarios these AI systems are going to help them, under what scenarios are not going to help them, how they can adopt these solutions in a more responsible ways. That is the part that as a society as a whole that we need to take into considerations, and we have to play a very important role even in academia, and at the same time corporate world also has to come forward and they have to develop solutions that are more responsible and that are more like eco-friendly. And I know I have given bit roundabout answers to your question, because there's I don't have single answer, but that's a holistic perspective I would put.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to follow up, Karishma?
Not for now, but I do see the huge economic and educative benefit for the future in having I wouldn't say an accountability system for agentive models, but a system shared approach so that one agentive model is documenting its approach, its learning, its lessons learned, as it were, not solely for that particular company's gain, but in the interest of building knowledge that becomes a reservoir for sharing for mutual gain in a way that society can go forward. And the agentive system is theoretically, quote unquote, rewarded for doing this documentation of lessons learned. It becomes more open, it becomes economically beneficial, it becomes socially a huge advantage of having agentive models, opposed to us constantly looking for, oh, what's the balance between advantage or disadvantage? Because human beings, no matter how we get together, simply cannot carry out the complex compare and contrast, advantage, disadvantage in a structured approach and document every single such comparison. It is humanly impossible to do. Whereas that's the advantage of an agentive model. So the question of how to make it want to do it and make them want to do it in a network around the world.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. An amazing question. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. The answer was really insightful. And one of the things I could add is when you think about an agent documenting its own response, and then we want to use that response in further course of actions or further decisions. So there are some models in reinforcement learning. So what they're trying to do is they are using this idea of it's as the word says, it's just to reinforce an idea. So it uses your reward model. So in that case, we can have a reward model like you stated, and that is one bit that we are also doing at SRL, at OU, there we are trying to understand that given that you have a decision from an agent, and you may have your own reward model. Maybe in your case, Karishma, you spoke about it was more about sustainability or ethical practices. So you can have your own reward model, and how do you use that reward model as your next steps or feedback, something like that. So we'll definitely catch up about this offline, and I can share more details with you. But thank you for the question. Any more questions from the audience? Till that time, I something that I really liked about is when you spoke about product, process, and technology. Maybe not in exact terms, but you spoke about that technology is not just to be seen in silos. It's definitely something that you should see with respect to the people and the process that we are going to use. That makes me ask you a question about AI enablement. And that question is, I saw two reports. One was from Capgemini and another one was from Deloitte. And what they say is, though AI is being used by a lot of people or a lot of industries, only 2 to 3% of the industries have been successful in actually implementing that in their companies. So, do you think somewhere the purpose of using AI is not yet cleared, or people are just using AI for the hype? And what would you, from your own experience working with people from industry, what would you say about this main thing of purpose? Because when we talk about AI, there has to be some impact that is different than what we're already doing right now, or it should make your work easy. So what do you think? Do you think that the purpose is something that is still something that people should think about when it comes to the use of AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Gartner also has released a report in which I don't remember exact number, but certainly number is very high for the companies who are still in exploration phase, and then the next phase is implementation phase, development phase, and then the third one is implementation phase. So numbers keeps dropping in each of them. I think the biggest challenge is we have to filter hype from reality at this point, because certainly there are good use cases, as just Karishma mentioned. Agents can do a lot more than as human that we could do. There are certain tasks that agents are certainly better, and there are certain tasks in which humans are better. So from the ROI perspective, I think there is no single way by which companies are able to figure out the exact ROI of specific AI based or agentic AI based projects. And This situation was there also back early 2000s or late 90s. There was a lot of discussion going on in academic setting also, and in industry too. What is the ROI of using information technology? What kind of value it is bringing in. We all knew that that IT was bringing value, but how to characterize those, right?
Sure.
What share to assign to IT versus other business units, marketing or finance. So same way, I think in AI system there is a challenge in terms of coming up with the ROI, coming up with the good use cases in which traditional AI or existing legacy system, cannot solve a problem or cannot answer. So companies are still kind of figuring out the unique use cases by which AI could or agentic AI could make a big impact. So more efforts need to be put through leadership educations too, in terms of what unique value uh, these agentic AI based systems are bringing in, and through those processes, I hope is that companies would be able to figure out you know projects in a more meaningful manner, so that success rate in future we'll see a bit more than what we see currently.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Thank
Any
you.
more questions from the audience? Any suggestions, comments, or just something that you would love to share about adopting AI at your institutions, industries? I know that Idle Lever, you are very much involved in philanthropy as well. Uh, so have you seen any particular difference with AI or anything that is related to AI in this? Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Is it Edel Dever?
I think he's on mute.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know any example where AI has been used for in philanthropic purposes. I'm sure it can be used, and maybe to identify people who are, who can help with that. But that would be actually a good question. How can you use AI for non-profit philanthropic purposes?
Sure. Thank you. Any more
Do
questions?
you have some suggestions, Naveen, for that?
Typically, I think the way I ask is what's the pain point at this point, in your philanthropic work? Why do you want to use AI? What is the typical pain point? What are the things that could be solved using just plain automation? What are the things that we need autonomous systems? Because I don't know your specific, philanthropic work, it is very difficult to make specific recommendations. But it's a good point. It's a good to start conversation in terms of what are different pain points at this point and how those pain points could be addressed using some of the technology that we have in place at this point.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Kind of a personal. There's a lot of AI this and AI that showing up in the research and on LinkedIn, and it's all over the place. How are we using AI? How can it be used? I'm wondering, you personally, what's your next project?
That's a great question. As you said, a lot of things are happening, and in business school, we are developing, or I'm at least in the process of developing a PhD level course in AI, and at the same time, master's level course in AI, where the focus is going to be different. Masters in information technology versus PhD students. So it's always a challenge in terms of what to bring in, what not to bring in, because technology is changing at a fast pace. But I was talking to Mayank and Dr. Farooq Mistry, that every day I have to keep aside at least 1 or 2 hours just to keep studying what's coming up. And I watch, and the seminar like this, these are a bit more thought-provoking, but being from engineering background, I love to do hands-on and I love to play with technology. So that's kind of from the teaching perspective, that's the immediate project that I'm working on. And from research perspective, in terms of how does, I briefly touched upon this in terms of hallucinations or bias issues. We have seen 2-3 years ago when we were using LLMs, we were seeing issues in bias, explicit biases that LLMs were showing in terms of biases from the protected categories that these systems should not have been supposed to show. But over a period of time, those explicit biases or biases originating from related to protected categories have been taken care of. But now there are implicit biases, right? That that are fine from rules or regulations perspective, but still those biases are not good for a given enterprise. So what I'm looking for at this point is how does some of those implicit biases are being propagated in agentic AI systems. One weak link in the system from adversarial attack perspective, or one weak link that exhibits some bias in these complex system, how it is going to affect the entire system. And what are some of the mitigation strategies? How do we characterize this bias across the system versus bias from single agent? So these are some of the open questions that I'm interested in getting answers. So that would involve some technical skills too, because we have to develop a agentic AI systems close to reality. We cannot just come up with any system that is far away from reality. And at the same time, how to come up with those implicit biases and then inject those biases in the system. So that's what the project that I'm involved in from the research side.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions? We are almost there with time. So if we have any last question there, some thought-provoking, interesting question, or else we'll... Oh yes, Karishma, please go ahead.
Only a very brief thought, and that is especially with agentic systems operating across the board now increasingly, particularly in organizational behavior and management. The difference between what is the nonprofit sector and working for profit, in my mind, is almost obliterated. Why? Because a nonprofit organization is taking its processes at the cost of someone else. Whereas so it is somebody else's cost that the nonprofit is using. They need to be even more cost conscious. Whereas an organization that's generating its own productivity at its own cost and selling it needs to be mindful of economic and environmental costs to tick boxes. So especially with agentive models, my suggestion is increasingly we need to look at ways to make it function for purpose, not function for gain. The gain will be in the purpose it serves, not just now, but over a longer period of time. So there are 2 time points we may want to look at when we are involved in agentive model processing, determination, and evaluation. Just a thought.
Great point. Thank you.
Very insightful. Thank you. Any more questions? Or else we can have some closing remarks from Farokh. You're on mute, Farokh.
Thank you, Mac. I think this was an extremely mind-polishing talk that you've given, Naveen, and I thank you very much for it. And as you've sensed from the dialogue and discussion that you've got many people thinking in many different ways in terms of what can and cannot be done. The thought that got me going was this: can we use it in philanthropy? And the ensuing discussion to me was extremely intriguing and interesting, particularly what Karishma just mentioned about for-profit and non-profit agencies. And I think that's a new thought that Karishma has given, and I'm going to think more about that. So Naveen, thanks for your talk, and we will put it up on YouTube, and we look forward to continuing the dialogue with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you
opportunity.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It was really an indeed great talk, and I would really appreciate